It is a fried chicken sandwich, but I call it a fried chicken BLT, but still it's so much more than that. So I'm making the breading assembly line, and I've got flour, salt, pepper, and I'm gonna add some onion powder and garlic powder. And I added quite a bit of salt because I want that chicken to have really great flavor. And then to give the breading a little bit of a lighter texture, I'm adding some cornstarch. And I will stir this together until it is totally mixed. I want all the cornstarch to be mixed in with the flour. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the chicken in to fry. They're chicken breasts, just boneless, skinless, and I'll give it a good dredge in the dry mixture first, and then shake off the excess. And then I'm putting it into a dish with nothing but beaten egg. So turn it over, let the excess drip off, and then back into the flour mixture. And you really want to get it really thickly breaded, because that's part of what is so good about the Smokie Okie, is just that thick, crispy breading. All right, this looks good. So it goes into a pan of hot peanut oil. It's on about 375 degrees. So now I'm gonna bread the second piece of chicken, get it into fry, clear up, and I'll see you on the other side. So it's into the flour, the egg, and back into the flour, and then into the pan. In about 3 minutes, they're crispy and ready to turn, and 3 more minutes on the second side, and they're done. The chicken is fried, all the elements are ready, so I'm gonna build a Smokie Okie. I have a brioche bun that has been toasted with some butter. It's nice and crisp. And I have some store-bought garlic aioli, garlic mayonnaise. The garlic flavor of the aioli really adds something special to the Smokie Okie. So on top of the aioli, I'll add a piece of chicken, and this is unapologetically big. You don't want to trim it neatly so it fits just right. You want it to kind of be sticking out the sides. So now, another thing that makes a Smokie Okie is this maple chipotle glaze. It's really easy to throw together. Let me tell you how to make it. Chipotle maple glaze is the best. I just put 2 tablespoons of adobo sauce from a can of chipotles in a pot with 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, a tablespoon of brown sugar, and a tablespoon of low-sodium soy sauce. I mixed everything together and simmered the sauce for 5 minutes for the sugar to dissolve. And it's absolutely amazing drizzled over the fried chicken. So then on top of the glazed chicken, I'll add a couple of slices of tomato. And then we like to use shredded romaine lettuce. It just adds kind of a little crispy lightness to the top of the sandwich. So last but not least, 2 slices of thick cut cooked bacon. Just kind of crisscross it. And then the top half of the brioche bun goes on. So I'll transfer this over. And we just serve our Smokie Okies with house-made fried chips, but any kind of chip or potato is just fine. Smokie Okie, one of the hundreds of things I love about the Merc and Oklahoma for that matter. Rotisserie chicken is the star of the show yet again. And I added just jarred salsa verde, just right out of the jar. And I'm stirring the chicken and the salsa together just so the chicken is totally coated in all that yummy green wonderfulness. So I am going to build the tacos. I'm gonna fry 3 at a time, so I'm gonna go ahead and build those. A good spoonful of the salsa coated chicken, right on 1/2 of the tortilla. And I'm using corn tortillas for these tacos. Okay, I pretty much got them assembled, and now I'm gonna cook them, and this is the fun part. I'll take the first taco, fold it, and use the tongs to help keep it closed while I put it in an inch of hot oil. Then I'll do 2 more. By the time all 3 are in, the first one's ready to flip, followed by the others. Then after about 30 seconds, I'll take the first one out, wrap it in a paper towel, shake it to get the excess oil off, put it on a paper towel lined plate, and do the same with the other 2. I told you it was a messy proposition, but again, that's what makes them so good. And they're really fun to make with friends, and it's just a really fun, interactive taco experience. So I'm gonna make a little bit of a dipping sauce for the tacos, and all it is sour cream, more salsa verde. These are salsa verde tacos after all, and a whole bunch of cilantro. It's just a nice bright green flavor. Little bit of salt and pepper, and I'll stir this. So I have a cute little serving platter, and I'll put a little bit of this dipping sauce into this little dish. I always have a contest with myself to make sure I can get it all in the bowl and not outside the bowl. Ooh, I did it. Ooh, those tortilla shells are so crispy. And they're so much better than store-bought taco shells. So what I usually do is I stuff the tacos after they're fried, and all you have to do is just kind of part the little tortilla at the top and add some lettuce, cheese, and tomato. And you don't want to pull it too hard because you don't want to break the shell. So just kind of pull the very, very top apart. And then as you eat them, you just kind of dip them in that delicious cilantro sauce, and wow.
My picnic fried chicken, we're gonna brine it in a little pickle juice. I got my oil going at 350 over there. I got some just classic dill pickle juice. We're gonna put this in a bag with 1 fryer chicken that we've cut up into pieces. You got your breast, your thigh, your wings. And this is just gonna infuse it with that dilly, garlicky flavor. Help, you know, literally inject moisture into it and draw moisture out so every bite is equally juicy. And that's not enough because we're gonna use this giardiniera in a bit. And you know I use this in everything because it gives you the, you know, beautiful fermented, pickly quality. And this is, we're gonna save that in a minute, right? But we're gonna pour some of that juice right in there.
Love that.
Now we're taking that oil that we strained off. We're gonna save this for later. And that's gonna add a whole nother level of flavor. It's going in the fridge. 2 hours minimum. Overnight you can do. The longer, the better. Got some ready to go.
I think with thighs, overnight. Like sometimes breasts and a whole chicken, it's too salty.
Yeah, you can definitely pull out the chicken after a couple hours if you want, but there's not a lot of salt. I mean, there's the more of the vinegar vibe and a lot of the kind of fermented, funky vibe in the giardiniera oil. So then we have these super flavorful brined chicken pieces. Now it's time for our dredge, classic buttermilk. Classic flour that we're gonna even make crispier because it's picnic chicken. We're gonna be eating it outside a little later. Add some cornstarch. All right, for flavor, a little salt. Plenty of black pepper. I want this kind of spicy, right? Kind of slows you down too. Some paprika, sweet, and of course, a little cayenne. As much as you want.
I think you've got a nice insurance policy there by adding the cornstarch to the flour so it travels and keeps better.
Exactly. That was my point, Alex, and I'm glad you recognized that. Thank you. So I'm looking at, you gotta have a candy thermometer in there when you're frying it home in a non-electric fryer. And I see it's a little hot, so to bump it down, you add a little oil to bring down the ambient temperature quickly. Otherwise, you just take it off the heat and wait. There you go. I can already see it start to drop. So that'll be perfecto while we bread our chicken.
So you want the oil ready to go when you start breading?
Exactly. I got my oil going here, 350. We got the candy thermometer.
And
you know,
skin on the chicken?
Oh, of course. Is there any other way? Do you like skinless fried chicken?
No, I don't.
Gotta have the skin on.
You gotta have the skin on. I mean, you chew on it a little bit, and that's what I love about these fryers. It's like the perfect size breast, you know?
Mixed
You got that
emotions
skin in?
over here with the chicken skin.
You don't like chicken. You're not a big fried chicken fan. I think I'm gonna convert you this time.
What's not to like?
I don't know, I don't know. Don't
Very
like-
I'm not trying to call you out. I just
prefer
think
roast
it's
chicken.
interesting.
I prefer roast chicken, barbecue chicken, anything, but it's not my favorite type of.
Wow, I wish that I felt that way. You deep fry just about anything and I like it.
I'm with you, Katie. How about mozzarella sticks? Come on, bro. You like a deep fried mozzarella stick. Cheese stick?
When I'm with you, I do.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Jeff, it's a burrata stick.
I'm sorry, of course. So I am doing the breast first because they're the largest of the cuts in here.
You double dip?
No, I do not double dip. Not for this application.
Not for brush.
And you could always take some of these for these first couple ones and sprinkle some of that buttermilk in there like we like to do to create even more of those bits that get super crispy on there. I'm gonna bread these side by side first and then shake off the excess, plenty. You don't want to kind of mucking up the fry oil there. It's going right in, gently, very gently. There she goes.
Down.
We'll get this other one going. I'm pulling out a leg here.
Picnic
And you can
chicken.
tell it is nicely, beautifully golden brown. I got a breast in here ready to go.
Gorgeous.
I mean, that is what we're looking for, that golden brown color. It's so hot right now. 160, golden brown, perfectly cooked in the inside that you need to let this rest, even if you're gonna eat it hot, you know?
Yeah.
Let this guy go another minute or, oh no, I think that's perfect. I'm gonna take that out, shut her down. And there you have it. The fried chicken portion is now finito, and now we can get to that honey giardiniera butter.
I mean, Jeff, I think we need to take a moment and say how perfect that breading looks. It is so crispy.
I'm gonna get started on my fried chicken. I'm using a pickling brine. So I have 2 cups of water in my pot here, 2 tablespoons of pickling spice, 1 bay leaf, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. And now I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of sugar. I love brining my chicken because it helps the chicken retain its moisture. I'm gonna bring my mixture to a boil, a little vinegar in there. Today I'm using dark meat because I just believe that dark meat has a little bit more flavor. This is the rolling boil I'm looking for. I'm gonna turn this off and I'm gonna cool this down in a bowl of ice cubes. You don't wanna cook your chicken in the brine, so it has to be cool. You wanna make sure when you are brining your chicken that it's skin side down. So I'm gonna let my chicken sit here for about 2 hours. My chicken has been brining. Now it's time to take it out and get ready to fry it. Buttermilk also helps tenderize the chicken, so this is gonna be some juicy chicken. And the buttermilk also helps the dredge adhere to the chicken. You gotta have a really great dredge to make a really great fried chicken. 3 cups of all-purpose flour, some salt, I'm using kosher salt, eyeballing this, some garlic powder, onion powder. I'm gonna use a sweet paprika. Give it a whisk. This is gonna be amazing. Growing up, my mom taught me how to use this paper bag. She said her grandmother taught her how to use the paper bag, so maybe that's the secret. Give it a shake. See how nice and coated that is? Ooh, that's gonna be some crunchy fried chicken. That is all of my chicken. So I've got my canola oil nice and hot, about 350. I'm gonna start with my thighs because thighs take a little longer to cook. I'm gonna let this fry for about 4 to 5 minutes, then flip it over and cook it for an additional 4 to 5 minutes. All I want to do here is get it nice and golden. I'm gonna finish the cooking in the oven. Drumsticks are a little smaller, so the cooking time is a little less. I'm gonna let that cook for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then flip it over and let it cook for an additional 3 or 4 minutes. All right, these are done. Oven set to 200. Pop that right in here while I finish up the rest of the meal. I think I'm smelling this chicken because I think it's done. This chicken is perfection.
When I see people just take a piece of chicken and dredge it in some flour and do a little batter or whatever and fry it up, I'm like, whoa, you're missing a phenomenal canvas of flavor. All these are key players. Buttermilk, the brine of a pickle, garlic, onion, salt, pepper, a little dill, you know, plays in well with this. And then to finish it off, just a little of your favorite hot sauce. Now we're gonna let this brine up to 24 hours, but if we can get a good 2 to 4 hours on this, we're good to go. Have the butcher break it down for you. If not, what we've got here is a whole chicken, about a 3-pounder, and cut it into 10 pieces. So that basically means you got a leg, a thigh, a drumstick, take the back out, and then take the breast and cut that into 2 pieces. Just so everybody's about uniform size so we have some even cooking. Drumsticks, and a piece of breast, and I wish the chicken had 5 wings. Okay, go there. And this is gonna take some time, so we'll let this brine actually in the fridge. Now the fried chicken, I actually had some pickle juice, and you should always save that pickle juice. That flavor is just so fantastic. And don't worry, the chicken's not gonna taste like a pickle. Righteous, okay. A little cornmeal for some texture. About 4 to 1 on this. Smoked paprika, little onion powder. This can kind of go wherever you want to go with it. If you want to really bring up the heat on it, you could drop some ancho. There's some granulated garlic, a little mustard powder. Okay. And a little fresh cracked black pepper. Gotta take the bling off because we're gonna get into this right now. Okay, mix this up. My key here is, the one thing that I want people to follow is that once they get the chicken dredged, once they get it dredged, they let it rest. Let that batter really get a hold of that chicken. Okay, but check this out. Drop it in with a wet hand. You know this routine, right? I've showed you enough times. But that dill salt guy that we're gonna make, fresh dill, salt and pepper, that's it. And you let that dill just soak right into that salt. The flavor's fantastic. Now cover this up.
Fresh dill, yeah?
Fresh dill is the key, buddy. Okay, cover this up, pat it with the dry hand, and really make sure that you pat it down. This is always a great one for Ryder, for the kids. Really pat it on there, nice and thick, no wet spots. Drop it. We're gonna let it rest for about 30 minutes before we fry it. The temperature of the chicken will come up. It'll fry nice, be golden brown.
And it's binding during that 30 minutes.
Okay, so the chicken's here. It's drying out, soaking up the breading that we're gonna do. But I gotta do something first. I gotta make a little dill salt to put on this chicken as soon as it gets done frying. So I'm just getting some kosher salt, a little black pepper, and I've got, oh, there it is. And I got some fresh dill. Now, I put dried dill in when I made the brine. I brined this chicken, and believe it or not, some dill pickle juice right out of the jar, and a little buttermilk, a little hot sauce, all the cast of characters, granulated onion and garlic. But this fresh dill, nothing beats fresh dill.
So much different than.
Okay, I'm just gonna tear it up a little bit.
I mean, dried's good if you're in the middle of the winter, but.
Hey, the oil that's gonna come out of this dill mixed in with this salt and pepper is gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
But even dry, if that's all you had is dry, sometimes it's those signature items like the dill guy that really step it up. Let's talk about frying chicken. Big Dutch oven, nice and heavy, so it's gonna hold its temperature. I've got the chicken here that I dredged in flour and cornmeal, really gave it some time to set up. Drop it at 350 degrees. We'll let this cook, let it get nice and crispy, but cooked all the way through. Now, Guy, the key to this is right when they come out, take the dill salt that I made with the fresh dill and just sprinkle that right over the top. Let me give you, I'll give you this bad boy.
Thank you.
I'm going all wing. Wing is my thing. So we take this chicken here, buttermilk brine. Now, I'm gonna teach you a little trick here in a second. You go ahead and eat that. Watch this. I'm gonna take this little pickle juice. We do this fried chicken, Guy's Smokehouse. So you take a little bit of that pickle juice right at the end and just pour a little pickle juice right on top of that.
Give me a little.
Oh. We brined it in the pickle juice, but now to get that, oh, I have my kind of fried chicken right there.
That stitches the whole thing together. That's lovely.
Isn't the pickleback the key?
Wow.
So we're gonna make a little marinade. Now, the marinade for my chicken has a little bit of everything in it. So I start with 2 cups of buttermilk. So when we marinate in things like buttermilk, we get a nice tenderizing side effect. And to that, for a little body and thickness, I'm gonna add 1 cup of sour cream. Give that a little whisk. Now for that little bit of pow factor, like in a shoot 'em up Western, I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of Dijon mustard. Surprisingly hot and amazingly naughty. Tablespoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of black pepper, stronger than you think. Just whisk that up. And now, I always get a whole chicken, cut into 10 pieces. That way we have every part of the chicken represented. Legs, thighs, breast meat. And I'll just pop these pieces right into this marinade. This is like throwing the chicken into a fabulous flavor pool, and then we pop it in the fridge. Now you can make this marinade the night before. You can make this marinade 2 days before. So don't be afraid, get in there and get those chicken pieces completely submerged. I'll just cover the chicken and I'll park that in the fridge and we'll just let that take a little nap. When we take it out of the marinade, we're gonna wanna drop it in a little bit of flour so that when we fry it up, we get that wonderful crust. And for me, that starts with 2.5 cups of regular old flour. I have a couple little things I like to add for flavor. My mom used to make this mixture and just shake it in a paper bag. 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. That adds a nice underhint of garlic. 2 teaspoons of mustard, which will pick up on that nice Dijon mustard we put in the marinade. And 2 teaspoons of paprika. Now the paprika provides the heat factor, but it will also give the flour a really nice color. So when we fry the chicken, you'll get a nice golden color from that. And then 1 tablespoon of salt. And then I just give this a nice whisk to bring it all together. It smells like my childhood. I have my trusty old cast iron skillet, halfway filled with canola oil that I'm getting nice and hot. I'm gonna fry one side, flip it over, and let that first side get that nice golden brown crust in the air while I develop the flavor and cook the other side of the chicken. That's my way to make chicken. Just remove the pieces one by one and drop them right into that tasty flour mixture. And the marinade provides a natural glue for my flour mixture to stick to. And because my chicken is broken down into 10 pieces, they're all relatively the same size, which makes for better frying. Now, once the chicken is all breaded and ready to go, I just take a little bit of this flour mixture that's left, a little clump, and I drop it in the oil just to give it a little test. That's a good sign, the way that's frothing up and it immediately rises to the surface. Crispy little golden pellets of goodness. And I'll start frying that chicken. Don't overcrowd the pan. Better to be patient, enjoy this process, and fry your chicken in 2 batches. And you can see right away that those spices we added are creating that wonderful color. That combined with the natural browning of the flour is gonna create a golden brown chicken. So I really love to use a cast iron skillet for something like this because I really like the way it evenly distributes heat. Okay, so after a few minutes, let's have a look. Wow, not bad. Now here, my first batch of chicken is ready to come out, and when I finish frying the rest of it, I'll pop it all in the oven so they're all cooked in the center.
To start, I've got my chicken broken down into 10 pieces in my casserole dish where I'm gonna brine it. And I'm gonna cover it with buttermilk, which is the best brining liquid because it makes the meat so moist and then it also adds that tang. I'm gonna add about 3 cups. Some cayenne pepper, a ½ teaspoon will add the perfect little kick, but it won't be overpowering. And then 3 tablespoons of kosher salt, which seems like a lot of salt, but the brine needs it in order for it to do its job. Because what the brine is doing is it's basically pulling out the moisture from the chicken, and then when the moisture goes back into the chicken, it's flavored with all that salt and this other goodness in the brine. And then it's just gonna get so juicy. I'll add 1 tablespoon of sugar, loads of black pepper, and then a few sprigs of fresh thyme. And this is gonna mirror the dried thyme that's in the za'atar that'll go on top at the end. And lastly, a couple of cloves of garlic. And I'm just gonna smash them so that they can infuse the mixture. I don't need to chop them up totally. I'll plop these in, and then I'm gonna use my tongs to zhuzh everything around. And this is a great straightforward brine. It'd be really good with pork chops or turkey, other lean meats. The chicken is fully coated. I'll grab some plastic wrap. I'll let this brine in the refrigerator for a few hours, and it is gonna make the meat so tender and juicy. It's worth it. And now I just need to mix up my coating. So I'm gonna grab 2½ cups of all-purpose flour,
half a cup of cornstarch, which is gonna make it extra crunchy, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, and then I'll spice things up with 1 tablespoon of paprika, or 3 teaspoons if you want to get mathematical, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, so flavorful. I feel like garlic powder is underrated. 1 teaspoon of dried mustard powder, chicken and mustard, match made in poultry heaven, and then half a teaspoon of cayenne for a little more heat. I'll crack in some black pepper. Smelling good already. And I'll whisk it together. My coating is combined. Let me grab the chicken, see if it's up from its nap yet. This is gonna be so juicy. I'm gonna do something that has revolutionized my life as a fried chicken lover. I'm gonna actually add some of the brine into the coating, and that allows the coating to clump up so you can get more of it in each bite, and it adds some of this delicious flavor from the brine. I'm gonna drizzle in a 1/4 cup of the brine, and then get in here with my hands to get it clumpy and good. Oh yeah, baby. So I have a pan ready to go here with a wire rack, and I'm gonna start with the legs, the best part. I'll let any of the excess coating drip off, and then I'll coat it all over. See, some of these clumps are just sticking on. I love the texture that the brine forms with the coating. This is what you need to live in the North, is a big, heavy coat. The chicken is ready. I'll get this on my pan, dredge the rest of my chicken, and then head outside for an awesome fry out. Hi.
Hey.
You ready to fry some meat?
Yes, I am.
Okay, the chicken is dredged.
Okay.
It smells really good. How's the oil doing?
We are getting real close at 350.
Perfect. So fry this in 2 batches.
Okay.
It'll take about 10 to 12 minutes, but the wings and the breasts will be done first. How's the chickens?
Done.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
It's perfect.
Okay, you can put it on this wire rack now.
Okay.
The wire rack is gonna allow any excess oil to drip off. It's gonna keep it crispy on the bottom too.
And they said I couldn't fry chicken.
I didn't say that. I'm gonna sprinkle it with some za'atar as it comes off. Za'atar is a spice blend with dried thyme, sumac, which is vinegary, and some toasted sesame seeds. This is just gonna bring it over the top. Oh, look at that chicken!
Last batch is frying away.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Done.
This looks so good. I'm ready to eat. Chicken! Well, this is fun.
I did that. Kind of unbelievable.
Let it marinate or tenderize with some buttermilk. And that's one of the things that buttermilk does. It tenderizes meats. It obviously gives it a little bit of that sort of tangy flavor as well. It's also going to promote a nice juicy chicken. So we're just gonna let this marinate for about 30 minutes or so. Now we're gonna move on to our waffle mixture. I have a classic buttermilk waffle recipe that I use. 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and then a little bit of salt, 3 tablespoons of sugar, all right, those are our dry ingredients. Then we need 3 eggs, a little bit of melted unsalted butter, and 1½ cups of buttermilk. I find that buttermilk, first of all, you taste a little bit of that sort of tang running through the buttermilk, but also it makes a very, very tender waffle. Okay. So we have all our ingredients, and then I'm just going to fold in the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients, and then we'll have our waffle batter. We're gonna let the waffle batter sit for 30 minutes or so as well. We can start frying our chicken and making our waffles. So we have some chicken tenders in here that we were marinating in some buttermilk, and I like to dip my chicken twice into the seasoned flour. So we're going to make basically 2 dredges of the flour mixture. Obviously, we're gonna start with all-purpose flour, and then we're gonna season it. A little bit of cayenne, whoops. A little bit of garlic powder and some onion powder and salt and pepper. All right, so then we're going to take some buttermilk. We need a wet dredge and a dry dredge. Man, we got a lot of buttermilk today. And then some hot sauce for some flavor. And if you notice, I season every layer, no matter what it is. Salt and pepper. And we're gonna start by putting the chicken in the flour, then back into the buttermilk, and then back into the flour. I mean, you can put all kinds of different seasonings in here if you want. To me, the most important thing is that it actually has, you know, seasoning and it's flavored. Because otherwise, you're gonna get some bland chicken. All right, here we go. You know, this is just the white meat. There's no skin on it. There's no bones in it. And they're not that thick. So this is gonna cook pretty quickly. When these get golden, they're done. So while those are cooking, let's get our waffles going. I wanna make sure that our waffle iron is on high. I'm gonna paint these with a little bit of butter. And I don't like to make perfect waffles in terms of shape. I like them to be misshapen just because then they look like they're homemade. All right, so we're gonna let those cook. All right, we got our fried chicken ready to go. Now all we need is some waffles. And then we can take some of our chicken. I mean, this is a pretty simple presentation. And then a little bit of honey. And a little bit of hot sauce. A little salt and pepper. All right, let's give it a try. So good. You can taste the tanginess of the buttermilk. So you have the crispiness on the outside, the tender, light and fluffy waffle on the inside. I think the buttermilk has a lot to do with that. And then you have the crispy fried chicken with lots of flavor. And to me, this is actually one of the most perfect dishes in America, period.
So traditionally, there are two problems with fried chicken. One is all that grease, and the second one is you have to do it just before you serve it. I'm going to show you how to do it in the oven. It solves both those problems. First thing, you sit it up on its little rear end. Take your knife, and there's a backbone here that I'm going to take out. And you want to run your knife right along both sides of that backbone. Keep your fingers out of the way. Okay, that's the backbone. Not great in fried chicken, fabulous in soup. So I'll save it for later. So then you want to have the chicken flat out like this. And there's this little part in the breastbone. Just want to nick it with your knife. And then run your fingers down both sides of this little bone and then pull it right out. Just should come out in one fell swoop. Okay, and now it's real easy to cut up. Just run your knife right down the back, flip it over, cut the leg from the white meat, cut the leg from the thigh, pull it back. It's easy to see where the bones connect. So, I've got 8 pieces ready for fried chicken. Now I'm going to put all the chicken in one bowl, and I'm going to pour buttermilk over it, and it's going to tenderize it. The acid in the buttermilk really makes the chicken very tender. I'm going to pour a quart of buttermilk over it. This is good for 2 chickens, but I only have 1. So what you want to do is get the buttermilk in around the chicken parts. Okay, wash up. Okay, I'm going to marinate this for a few hours, but if you have overnight, it's even better. Time to fry the chicken. So I've got my chicken that's been marinating in buttermilk, which is going to make it moist and really tender. So first thing, I'm going to season some flour to make the coating. It's going to make it really crisp. 2 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of fresh pepper. I'm just going to mix it all together and then put the chicken in. So the secret of this recipe is, instead of frying the chicken while everybody's standing there waiting for dinner, I'm going to fry it really quickly, get the coating really crisp, and then I'm going to bake it in the oven. So it's going to be crisp on the outside and incredibly tender and juicy on the inside. It's a messy job, but really worth doing. Okay, last piece. Ugh. Really messy. Okay, now let's get some oil really hot. Need the oil about 360 degrees. I use a candy thermometer, which really just sort of hangs on the pot. I think it's almost there. Okay, chicken in. Just about 3 minutes on each side, because remember we're going to finish cooking it in the oven. They're browned on one side. I'm going to turn them for another 3 minutes and then put them on a sheet pan to bake in the oven. Smelling like fried chicken. You know, for the flour, I just use salt and pepper because I like it simple, but you can always use something spicy like cayenne pepper, whatever you like. A little chili powder. Okay, it's 3 minutes, ready to come out and go on the sheet pan. I'm going to fry the rest of these up, and then I'm going to put them all in the oven together. 350 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. So the thing that's so amazing about these is the layers of flavors and textures. The chicken has a double crust, so it's really crispy. And the sauce is made with buttermilk and mayonnaise, so it's kind of tangy. And fresh herbs, so it's really fresh. So good. And then there are pickles involved. So I'm gonna make the sauce first. So I've got a cup of mayonnaise, 2 tablespoons of buttermilk. I wanna be sure to shake it first, which I did. Just whisk it in. Teaspoon of white wine vinegar, just to give it a little tang. I'm gonna whisk that together and then put in lots of fresh herbs. Okay, first the scallions. I need 2 tablespoons of sliced or chopped scallions, the white and the green parts. I think a lot of people use a knife by just doing it up and down, but it's really good to use the blade and have it sort of rock back and forth, and then you get the best use of it. And the scallions cut really cleanly. Okay, so 2 tablespoons, that's about 2 tablespoons. 1 tablespoon of minced chives. Got lots of onion flavor. I love chives. Okay, it's about 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon of minced parsley. This recipe actually originally came from Shake Shack, which is Danny Meyer's fast casual hamburger restaurant. And what's interesting is I was thinking about making fried chicken with a double coating, but I'd never actually gotten around to doing it. And that's exactly what they do with the Shake Shack chicken. So I thought, I think I'll try that. And it was amazing. So 1 tablespoon of parsley, just stir it in. Okay, a little bit of thyme. All kinds of herbs in this. I'm just gonna strip it right in, just a little bit. Give it another layer of flavor. Half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and that's it. So that's the herb mayonnaise. Now I'm gonna show you the chicken, which I'm keeping warm in the oven. Wait till you see this. Now, how good does that look? Wow. Chicken inside is really tender and crispy outside. I'm gonna tell you how I made it. This is the best. There are 4 tricks to the fried chicken. First, a great marinade with 2 cups of buttermilk. The acidity tenderized the chicken. 1 sliced shallot, 2 smashed garlic cloves, 1 halved jalapeno pepper, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper, all stirred together. I put the chicken in the marinade and coated it. It's 6 halved chicken breasts flattened to 1/2 inch, which tenderizes them and ensures that they cook evenly. Then I put them in the fridge for 8 hours for the marinade to get into the meat and to flavor it. Next, I made a flavorful coating mix. I added 4 teaspoons of baking powder to 3½ cups of all-purpose flour, along with 2½ teaspoons of smoked paprika, a teaspoon each of cayenne pepper, and celery salt, a tablespoon of kosher salt, 1½ teaspoons of black pepper, and whisk them all together. Then the third trick is that I double dip the chicken. I removed each piece of chicken from the marinade, dipped it in the flour, back into the marinade, and then back into the flour. And I promise this makes all the difference in the world. Then the fourth and final trick is how I cook it. I fry the chicken 3 pieces at a time. You don't want to overcrowd them. In 2 inches of oil, heated to 350 degrees. I cooked them for 5 minutes, flipping them halfway through. Then, when they were deliciously crispy, I put them on a rack over a sheet pan and kept them warm in a 250-degree oven while I fried the second batch. I did exactly the same with the last 3 pieces. I took the fried chicken out of the oil, put it on the rack, sprinkled on some salt, and kept all the chicken warm in the oven. Those tricks really make a difference. Okay, now I'm gonna put the sandwich together, which in the business is known as flavor build, as in where you put everything in the sandwich makes a difference in how it tastes. Bet you didn't know that. So first I'm gonna take the hamburger bun. I'm using potato buns, which I think have great flavor. I toasted them a little, 300 degrees for about 10 minutes. Put sauce on the bottom. Next I'm gonna put a piece of lettuce. I'm using Boston lettuce because it's really tender and delicious. Piece of lettuce. And then pickles. These are really good pickles, like 4 pieces of pickle. So it turns out where you put the pickle in the sandwich makes a difference in how it tastes. I don't know why the order makes a difference in how it tastes, but it just does. Okay, next is the chicken. Oh, look how good this is. Right on top, just barely fits. And then more sauce on the bun. And put that on top. And that's a Shake Shack chicken sandwich. And that one's got my name on it. Okay, that's one. I'm gonna make 5 more. Well, you can see why these are Jeffrey's favorite chicken sandwich. Mine too. And if you make them, they're gonna be your favorite chicken sandwich.